Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Canadian Reacts video. Today, we're going to talk about the semifinal number 2 for Eurovision 2021. I just had the joy of being able to experience it live for the first time ever. I was home and watching it when it came on at noon my time, so 9 p.m. in the Netherlands, but noon my time here, so it was actually perfect. I had the day off for it, and just getting there and watching it. It was an emotional experience in many ways. I felt it, I was so proud watching everything going down. And the hosts were fantastic. Nikki is huge. Nikki Tutorials, she's so tall compared to the other hosts and stuff. It's shocking a little bit, like kind of really shocking how much taller she is to everybody else, but at the same time just amazing to see that. So let's talk about the second semifinal for Eurovision 2021. One thing I want to also mention is, and I think I forgot to in the last video, but the fact that all of the artists are so supportive of each other, which really lends itself to the whole reason of Eurovision originally, to unify Europe and Israel and Australia. But everybody supports each other so much, even though there might be things going on in the countries in general. They may not always get along. The performers, at least this year anyway, it seemed like you watch the behind the scenes stuff, you watch their social media stuff, like everybody's just so good with each other. And there's kind of that cute little romance, are they, aren't they kind of thing between Effendi and Tix. I don't know, it's like its own little soap opera, but like it's very positive this year, and we really need that positivity given what 2020 threw at us and what the whole pandemic did as well too. So that's really nice to see. And as somebody who does events, like I work with Anime Revolution in Vancouver, International Fan Fest in Toronto, and CamCon in Kamloops, you don't always necessarily see that with performers in contests and stuff like that. There's always that competitive aspect, but Eurovision is it's really refreshing to see that. And I know we don't see every single thing, so behind the scenes it might be a little bit different, but what I've seen, I'm really impressed with it. So this time, unlike the last one where I didn't get to watch the whole thing live, I did see the videos for it. This time I watched every single performance live as it happened, and I was talking to my friend, Saya. You can find him on Instagram, Scarlet Saya. He's a singer in his own right, has great music and stuff out there. I've told him, I'm like, you should go into Eurovision, Saya. And I met him actually through Anime Revolution, when he worked with Origa, who came to our convention a few times, and may she rest in peace. She was an amazing woman from Russia, and she passed away sadly, but I was so honored to be able to be there and watch her perform and work with her and Saya and the whole crew. But we've remained friends, and it's nice to speak to somebody, especially who's familiar with Eurovision, having grown up in Europe. And so we were kind of bantering back and forth, and now we do have kind of dissimilar tastes a little bit, but we'll get into that as we go along. So as you can see on the screen, it's a little different than what I had last time, because the other video I did was a little bit later. This one is pretty much right after I got my thoughts and stuff together. So we've got the results of the 10 countries that made it into the grand final, and then down below is the just the running order of how the second semifinal was going to go. So let's go, starting with the let's just go in the order that it says in the second semifinal. We'll talk about who won and who didn't. I think it's probably easier that way. So, number 1 performance was my favorite, San Marino. I was so glad that Florida made it to the Netherlands. That was kind of it was supposed to be a secret that he was going to be going. It was another one of those will he, won't he type moment type things, and Senhit was heavily hinting at it, but not so much. And then at the first rehearsals, he wasn't there, so they had someone else stand in, and then he made it in, and they performed together. And to me, watching it live, it was awesome. Saya mentioned something about lip syncing. I don't know about that. I don't think so. Like, just watching and having watched the original music video of it, and knowing how that sounds, and then comparing it to what they just did on stage there, I don't see it. I like it. It was different to me. He hadn't seen the original video for that though, and then the other parts with Florida, at like interacting with Senhit as they would go along towards the end of the song. That was also definitely live 100%. But the whole performance overall, what an energetic song to be able to start the whole thing, the whole show off with a bang. I've loved Adrenalina. I've learned that, well, I've kind of learned the dance a little bit. We're like fire and gasoline, come and light it up with me, so high in adrenaline. Yeah, anyway, fun song. I love it. I am so glad that they qualified for the grand final. I had no doubt that it was going to happen. The staging was pretty good. They were all over the place using the stage. I love to see that, because when you have a performer just standing in one spot on stage, even if they have the most powerful vocals, to me, that's a boring performance, because it's better if you at least walk around on the stage. Don't just stand in one spot. But no, San Marino kicking it out of the park. If they were to win this year, if I'm not mistaken, that'd be the smallest country to host Eurovision or to win Eurovision, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I love it right out of the gate. Very strong performance. Absolutely loved it. I was gutted that Estonia didn't make it in, because that was my number 6 choice originally on who I wanted to win this year. But I understand why. Like, the Lucky One sounds kind of similar to the song that he was going to do last year. I guess that's just his style of music, and that's fine. But I think it would work more on North American radio. I really do. It's got that sound that Canada, North America, like, I don't know how else to explain it, but there's kind of like songs that would work in North America versus Europe. Stuff that doesn't work here seems to work really well in Europe, and vice versa. But I really liked this song, so I am sad that they didn't make it in. I would have put Estonia above Portugal. Spoiler alert, Portugal won or got in. But I don't know. It's kind of just another one of those generic love songs, I guess, and people want something a little bit different. I know, but I don't know what else to say. Czech Republic, Benny Christo's song, Oh My God. Okay, like, he was having fun on stage, 100%. I think his vocals were off a little bit. Like, it just sounded a little strange to me. It almost sounded like he was fighting against a vocoder machine. I've seen that before, where they build it into the microphones and stuff, and sometimes the artists are fighting against it. That was allegedly what happened to Madonna when she performed at Eurovision. Allegedly. Anyway, but I don't know. I don't think, maybe there wasn't any of that in there. It was just he I don't know. It just sounded weird to me. But I mean, he put on a good performance, but it wasn't, I guess, probably just not wowing enough to people to have him continue on into the grand final. So number 4 was Greece. Greece had the best staging so far, probably across the board. I loved Ireland's staging. I'll keep saying that. I know people critique it and stuff. I still love that. It was such a unique concept. I think Stefania's performance with Last Dance was also very unique. I loved that they had the people in the green suits to work with the green screen, and the levels, the stairs and stuff, and all the things they did. Like, and she's a very powerful singer too. She's from the Netherlands. And so she was saying that they were interviewing her too, after, like, just before they announced everything, and she said that she's been the translator for the group, basically. So if someone doesn't understand English or doesn't understand Greek or doesn't understand Danish, she translates between the three. So that's awesome. She's a multi-talented young lady. She's like 18 or 19, I think. And so one of the youngest performers. I still think, like, she reminds me of Alexis Blodell from the Gilmore Girls. That's just her face is very similar to that. But a great performance, a standout performance. Greece is definitely going to do well. They're going to get high. They're probably going to be in the top 5, if not the winner. It's just astounding. It was very, very, very well done. I love it. I can't say enough good things about Greece. Originally, Greece was my number 3. Now it's bumped up to number 2 because, of course, Ireland is out of there, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Number 5 to perform was Austria. This was the biggest upset because, according to the bookies, right up to the contest, Austria was going to be one of the countries to make it into the grand final. All of the other ones that did, like the ones that you see there, were projected to do so, according to the bookies, except Moldova. Moldova was supposed to be just after Austria, so those two switched, but they're the only two really. So that was one of the biggest upsets. But what it proves too, when you think about it, Austria, Georgia, North Macedonia, and Slovenia all did gospel style songs, and not one of them made it into the grand final. So there was obviously a disconnect there this year. And I wasn't surprised about Georgia not making it in. I just have to say, I know I'm jumping ahead here, it was one of the more boring performances. It really, really was. When in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to everybody else's stuff, it was a very slow song and just kind of boring performance. It was just him on stage, which is fine. I mean, that worked for Bulgaria and Switzerland, but like, it was kind of boring. Austria, on the other hand, probably the most lively of the 4 gospel-y style songs, yet and he got emotional at the end too. Just didn't make it in over all the other ones. Moldova, I think, got in because of the fact that it's the most memed song of 2021's Eurovision entries. Like, you see it everywhere. They make fun of the dancing and stuff like that too, which is fine. But I mean, it's a gimmick that helps you. Whatever works, right? Okay, so Austria, biggest upset there. Am I upset? Not really. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't really one of my favorite songs, but just it is what it is, I guess. So 2021, not the year for gospel songs. Poland. So I thought there was something with Poland and COVID, that they couldn't perform or something because somebody was sick, but they ended up doing it anyway. I believe they did it live. I think they did it live. Unlike Iceland, but we'll get to that one. Rafal, I think, is one of the older performers in general. Like Stefania, Destiny, they're some of the youngest ones. I think Rafal is one of the older ones. And it's a throwback song, like an 80s style song, very neon in the music videos. They had a good projection system. The dancing was okay. It was an okay performance. It probably was one of the higher ranked ones, I would think. I don't know what the numbers were, like the voting numbers and stuff. They didn't say specifically who got what points. I think that's all saved for the grand final. But I guess it was just not considered flashy enough, or maybe it was a combination of vocals and performance. I don't know. It was kind of a 50-50 for me on there too, but I guess on the lower end. Number 7 on the docket was Moldova. Moldova, as I mentioned, beat Austria, and the song is Sugar, and her vocals reminded me of Leslie Roy's, breathy kind of. She did seem a little nervous in some parts, but you have that dance. Like, Leslie was alone on stage, and oh my gosh, what is her name? Sugar, Natalia Gordienko. She had her backup dancers, and it was well executed, very, very well executed. People like the dance, and I think, when you have something that's so popular and is memed a lot, that just gets the public's attention, and that's probably what happened in this case here. Because again, I think that Vincent Bueno's vocals were stronger than Natalia's, but overall, the performance was better for Sugar. That's probably why Moldova got in. Iceland. So Iceland made the gut-wrenching decision as a performer, and I'll say this as a performer myself, when you've worked so hard to get somewhere and then something happens, you get sick at the last minute. Dadi himself wasn't sick, but one of his delegation, or actually maybe 2 by the looks of it, because when they were showing them separated in the green rooms, a separate one, they had the tablets, 2 tablets with the people, like part of his band there. So I think 2 of them tested positive for COVID, and they made the decision not to go on stage without their band members. So that's a great unifying thing, a great unity there. But it could have gone to hurt them a little bit. When you look at what happened with Australia and not sending Montaigne live, I think that might have partially led to why Australia didn't get into the grand final. It wasn't a live performance, but that's not the case with Iceland. Iceland actually made it into the finals. Their song has long been a favorite, so that wasn't that surprising to me. I still think that their song last year was a little bit stronger than this one. The message is neat though. 10 years. It's about his how long he's been married to his wife, and a nice little theme, I guess, to sing about, and that was nice because it's obviously very personal there. Okay, so after Iceland, we have Serbia. This was not a surprise at all. Loco Loco by Hurricane. Their song this year was very similar to the song that they did last year, like just in sound. And that, again, that's fine. It's very upbeat, very fast-paced. I like that. I love the energeticness of it. I think that it was definitely bound to get into the final. How would it have done, or how would any of these songs done had they been up against the other ones in semifinal one? That's something I often think about too, is, you know, the placings, like the choosings. Would some of the ones that didn't make it in semifinal one, would they have done better up against some of the songs that performed in semifinal two? It's always a gamble, I guess. But anyway, Serbia, great energy. The girls had a great time. It was just the three of them on stage, but you know, they're all working together, dancing, singing. You got the hair flip thing going on. You know, that's always been a popular thing, and the song is just very energetic. A great middle song to have in Eurovision performances. And I'll just say too that I wasn't sure going into this how it was going to work. Like, I thought there'd be more time in between the performances, but they really balanced it out well between having the hosts talk about some stuff and then also just throwing things in there. The introductions of the artists for the countries, that was really neat, using the house thing that they had there and like putting it in these different things. And I thought the whole thing was quite immaculately done. And let me just say again, shout out to the social media team with Eurovision. Like, I would say minutes after the live performance would air, you'd find the video cut with the opening title card and all that stuff, the intro for Eurovision, on their YouTube channel. Just that thing. Like, they are on top of things in a way I haven't seen before. Like, this is awesome. This is super, super amazing. You guys have a fantastic team there. Let me just tell you that right now. So, okay, moving right along. Georgia, I've talked about. I'm sorry, it was the weakest entry in overall, I think, of the performances. It fell flat. I mean, the song was okay, but it's a slow song, and it was just having him on stage by himself and just very little other stuff going on. And you know, once in a while that can work for you, but at least with Bulgaria and Switzerland, the difference there, because they had their solo people on stage, they had stuff going on. Victoria was on that spinny, like kind of spinny, but it was a very whimsical video. John, I don't know how to pronounce his name still, for Switzerland. He had that kind of weird architecture thing and then light stuff in the background, and just his voice was great too. But Georgia it was boring in the grand scheme of things, so I'm pretty sure that led to not really getting into the final. So I'm really, really sorry about that. Albania, that was not a surprise at all. Angela, Anxhela, is that Angela? Anxela, I'm never sure. Peristeri with Karma. From the second I first heard that song and like saw the video for it, I think it was actually the first one I ever saw for 2021. I knew, like, she's got such a powerful voice. She's a great performer. The song was great. Like, everything about it was awesome, and there was no doubt in my mind that she was going to make it into the final. I don't know how far she'll be in the top 10 potentially, but still a very, very great, strong song, especially in the semifinal here. So not a surprise at all. Portugal surprised me because it's not personally my favorite. I find the guy's voice a little bit annoying, but then again, a lot of people find my voice annoying, so whatever, to que sera sera. But just in general, it's another generic love song kind of thing. And you know, they did have a neat thing with the film noir style handling of it at the beginning of it, and then, you know, it turned into the colors and stuff. But it was a very traditional style. The band is on stage, not a lot going on. It's a slowish song, but they did a great performance. So Portugal got in. I personally would have chosen Estonia over Portugal, but again, that comes down to musical taste, favorites, whatever. So, yeah. Bulgaria was a nice surprise because while I like the song, I did think the performance was a little bit lackluster just in this. Like, they had stuff going on and they had beautiful stuff in the background. And, like, I think there was sand coming down. It looked like water, but it might have been sand. Um, it's very whimsical. It's another song that kind of, it's got a fantasy element to it. And she did something like that last year, too. But I think this song was better. And she reminds me of Cher Lloyd from the UK. She really does. Just her voice, her look. She just reminds me of Cher Lloyd. And I love Cher Lloyd. But this song was great. I'm pleasantly surprised to see that Bulgaria made it into the final. So that's awesome. Um, Finland. So Finland, not my style choice, not my stylistic choice of music. I'm not a huge rock fan. This is like a punk rock song. Italy's the other one. There's only two of them this year. They're both in the final. So that's interesting. That was chosen over any gospel songs. Lordi won for Finland in 2006 or 7, one of the two. And I mean, there's obviously a flavor for it. Lordi's going to be performing at the grand final. Would I have chosen Finland personally? No. I don't think so. Like, we'll talk about Latvia in a second. Based on their performance, yes. They owned the stage. They had great vocals. Everything was awesome about it. It's just not my musical stylistic choice. I don't really fault any, like, them getting into the grand final. I think that was the right decision. But if we were just to go by the music video and the actual song, like on the CD, I would have chosen Latvia over Finland. But let's move on to Latvia because the performance at the semifinal was lackluster. The performer Samantha Tina has a great voice. I think she handled herself well. Her backup dancers might as well have not even been there. They were so lacking energy. Like, I just didn't feel it. It just felt really meh, you know? I love the green. Green's my favorite color. I thought the choices of what they wore was great. I mean, they had the weird visors down. I don't know if that was like a shout out to COVID safety, whatever, or if it was just a stylistic choice. I don't know. But the song, like the music video, very girl power, very strong woman, very, very fun song. But it just fell flat in the performance. And as we learned, like from Ireland especially, sometimes it comes down to your live performance. But again, it can go any way. And I'm a little sad that Latvia's performance wasn't better, but I understand why Finland got over Latvia, so we'll say that. Switzerland, Tout l'univers. I always say Tout l'univers, but I think it is Tout l'univers. Please pardon my terrible French accent. I am Canadian. French is our second language officially en français, but I am not good with French. When I try to speak French, it usually goes into Japanese because I know more Japanese than I know French, and that's just how my head works. So, but Tout l'univers. So another stylistic choice to just have John Gjon. I don't know how you pronounce his name. John. I don't know. He reminds me a lot of my little brother, my youngest brother. He was a singer when he was younger. Really doesn't sing much anymore, but he could always hit the high notes back then. This guy has very serious talent. Switzerland was one of the favorites to win for the longest time. That has since changed. Now it's Moldova, France, and Italy, I think. Not necessarily in that order, but I mean, it was a fantastic performance. He pulled it off super well. He's got a very simple stage, but he uses it. He's got things going on with it, which is the difference from Georgia. And I think his vocal range is far more all across the board as well. And so that worked really well for him, too. But this song has been a favorite for a lot of people, and I think it would have been a little touch better if they would have had more of the effects from the music video in it, like the universe stuff and like showing all of Switzerland, like the scenery and stuff. Like that was amazing. And finally, Denmark. Now, Denmark, for me, was also one of the weakest entries all along. Their performance in the music video is very similar to the one that they did on stage. It's got like a 60s, 70s a kind of 80s infusion to it. So it's got that traditional performance feel like you would see in 1960s or 70s Eurovision. Simplistic. The two guys looked like they were having a great time. I know the boys were quite popular by a lot of people, but I didn't understand what they were saying, and that's fine. They sang in Danish, I believe. It's just it was a very folky kind of dancey song, and just I don't know. I didn't care too much for it. It's never been one of my personal favorites. So I'm not sad that they didn't make it into the final. I do agree with most of the stuff on here. Like you see the 10 countries there where it says qualified. All of those, aside from Moldova, were projected by the bookies. Like I said, Moldova was the upset. Austria was supposed to be ahead of them. But all pretty decent choices. So I think it's going to be a very, very strong year again this year. It already has been. All of the songs have been amazing. I'm still very sad that Maps didn't make it in. But again, based on the performance, I understand. So, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you. If you disagree with me, well, we'll have words. But not bad words. Like I said, I love being able to have people to discuss this with, because not a lot of people in North America are really aware of it yet. But, I mean, with the American music contest or song contest, which is going to be kind of like Eurovision a little bit, in the States, it's probably going to draw more attention. Duncan Lawrence appeared on Ellen, I think, recently with Arcade, and obviously we've had Waterloo from ABBA is pretty big over here. What other Eurovision songs? Toy has made its way over here by Netta. So little by little, it's kind of trickling over here, and I think that eventually it'll be. I would love to see Canada take part one day. I think that the CBC is part of the EBU. It's one of the stations that broadcasts it, I think. But I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. But I work on Saturday, so I won't be able to watch the grand final, but I am planning on doing a reaction video anyway after getting home and seeing everything. So who do you think's going to win? For me, I've amended my top 5. Obviously, Ireland isn't going to be there. So now it's San Marino with Adrenalina, followed by Greece with Last Dance, Azerbaijan, Matahari by Effendi, Germany, Jendrik's I Don't Feel Hate, and now number 5, Manija with Russian Woman for Russia. Let me know down below. Love to hear from you guys. And here we go, Eurovision 2021 Grand Final on Saturday. I'm excited.